Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to One Mic, One Wheel, the show where we talk all things sim racing and motorsport related. Hope you guys enjoyed the last episode with Kieran McGinley. Very interesting chat ahead with him about his commentary and about his karting and his job at the karting circuit where he lives nearby. But today we're back to league ownership and commentary. I have with me Luke Crane, otherwise known as Actrollvision. Luke, you're very, very welcome to the show. I'm very, very pleased to have you on.
How you doing, Jack? Thank you for having me on. Been listening to a few of these, watched or seen over Twitter some of the big names you've had on here, so I had a little scour through, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be invited on, so thank you.
No problem at all. So let's start then. Where did your love for motorsport begin?
Oh, wow. So I guess I was a bit of a late bloomer in this. I actually watched the one with Diablo. No, sorry, not Diablo. The Inside Line Racing owner. And his is a very similar story to mine. So my first love is football. I actually played semi-professional football up until I was 27, and I snapped my knee in half, and it was game over. But yeah, so I was about 1996, Damon Hill. So Damon Hill for Williams was kind of my pull into Formula One. I remember the first time I ever watched Formula One was at Australia. I was with my dad on the couch, 5 a.m. usual wake up with your dad, and I remember the rear wing of the Williams was changing color because of the two Williams were first and second, and Damon Hill's wing was getting darker and darker as the race went on because of the fuel. And my dad was telling me that was making the car go faster and faster and faster. So the darker the wing went, the quicker the car went. So that was my first real memory of racing. So I was a Williams nut, still am a Williams nut, as much as they're not the greatest team in the world anymore. But that also transpired into touring cars with Williams Laguna or Williams Renault, when there was Alain Menu and Jason Plato. But yeah, just anything with four wheels overtaking has always been pretty exciting for me. That and football, really. So yeah, I got into it around about 1996. I was about 10.
And have you got any favorite moments that stick in your memory?
Oh, favorite moments. There's so many to mention. I'm one of those where I've got my favorite drivers. So this is how my Formula One world goes right now. So we'll talk last year because it's a bit more interesting. So I'm a massive Kimi Raikkonen fan. I despise Ferrari, and I'm a fan of Lewis Hamilton because I'm from England. So it's I've got and plus Williams are my favorite. So I've got like four things to look out for, or three drivers to look out for. Plus I don't like Ferrari. So favorite moments. I guess for me the Schumacher trying to take out Villeneuve and failing. That's probably right up there because Williams again. I was a huge fan of Williams. Hamilton's first championship win, I think, has to go down as one of the craziest endings to a championship. Massa thought he'd had it. See pictures of his dad crying, his family going absolutely bananas. For then, is that Glock? Oh dear, no, that's a bit crazy. Is it Glock? I'm pretty sure it was. It's a long time ago now, wasn't it? Was that 2008? Was it 2008? That is a really 2007. That's a really long time ago now, isn't it? For then Lewis Hamilton to cross the line and take the championship. So yeah, for sport, I say we've just been blessed with like the three greatest football games in the history. Like we had Vincent Kompany stepping up and hitting one top bins for Man City on Monday. Then we've had the 3-0 down against Barcelona, Liverpool comeback. Then we just saw Tottenham absolutely come against all odds against Ajax at the Johan Cruyff Arena. So yeah, for motorsport, I guess it'd probably be Lewis Hamilton for me, winning the championship like right in the last corner.
So then, how did this journey into esports begin?
Oh wow! So I don't know. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian for a very, very, very long time. I just didn't have the time. Had my first child, who's 11. His name's Riley. In 2007. My maths is terrible. He's my son. I should know this. Yeah, 2007. And so I couldn't do like the traveling and the writing and the gigs because to be a stand-up comedian, you need to travel to all the pubs. The same as any local band or any entertainment source, really, like the wedding DJs and stuff. They have to go around and do all of the pubs and clubs and stuff. So I couldn't do that, and I thought, what could I do to be entertaining? So I was massively into Call of Duty when I was very young. well, not very young, I guess into my 20s. And about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe, I was like, how can I be in the entertainment business? How can I have an audience? I always enjoy people laughing at my jokes. As much as that, it's all about my ego at this point. As much as I hate to admit that. So yeah, I always want to have an audience. So I was like, how can I do this? I watched a lot of Twitch streamers, and I thought, I could do Call of Duty. I was watching the usual, the ninja diffuses and the team killings back in the day from like Modern Warfare 2 and Call of Duty World at War, best game ever, by the way, World at War. And I thought, what can I do? So I started streaming, believe it or not, WWE 2K15, I think it was at the time. My eldest kid was crazy into WWE. He had the game. And I thought, I'll stream this. But I always had the hope of going into online racing. And so I was waiting for Project Cars to be released, the original one. And when that got released, that was kind of my entry into Twitch streaming. And people just instantly wanted to watch me race. I was on a controller for like the first year of that game. And it was like me and 3 other friends just racing the same. But basically, we're just doing Z4s around Nürburgring GP every day. Like we didn't venture outside of that. We slowly got rid of the racing line. We slowly got rid of the assists. We slowly got rid of everything, and we're still on pad. And it was just kind of the same people day in day out. But people wanted to watch it, so I was like, "This is crazy. Where can I go from here?" So yeah, that's how I got into it. Project Cars, I was waiting for Project Cars to come out, and luckily there was 1 or 2 people that enjoyed watching.
So then, what possessed you to start ACR then?
Oh wow, yeah, yeah, whatever it was. I wish it didn't. Now it's a bit crazy. No, of course it's one of the best things I've ever done. But I tell you what, it is a crazy old lifestyle now. So like I said, the same 4 people were racing every single day, and then through Twitch we had 1 or 2 extras join, and you get some that were completely terrible and just never learned, never got any better. But when you're racing just via a PlayStation group, there's no way of like punishing people, if you like, with rules and regulations. And so this is going to sound so ghetto compared to what we do now. So I started a Twitter DM group. This was ACR, guys. So we had a Twitter DM group, and at one point before we started Discord, and I will take claim for every sim racing community using Discord these days. I was the first to bring Discord into the conversation, that's for sure. And it was that early. We didn't use it for a year, so I had a Discord for like a year that just didn't get used because no one knew what it was. And I was trying to explain to people, yeah, use Discord, and they're like, nah, it seems a bit too complicated. So that was a long time ago as well. That was just as it come out. But yes, we ended up with the streaming having sort of 40, 45 people in this Twitter DM group. So we had like 3 leagues at the time. So all of the leagues were like contaminating each other with chat because we're in the same DM group. Like there wasn't separate ones. It was just a Twitter. Oh, it was ridiculous. I don't even know if you can have more than 10 people in the DM group now on Twitter. It was just, me, my iPhone, and that basically. No moderators, nothing. And I had a spreadsheet, and I was just like, this just got to be something better to this. And like now we've got, 3,000-4,000 people involved now. So like if we didn't move to Discord, imagine what Twitter groups would be like now. It'd be mental. But I started building spreadsheets so we could keep track of people's results and stuff like that. And I always felt it was really important not only to track people's performances in individual leagues, but for them to have their stats, like they can go and look up. Oh, I've done 463 races. I've got 0 this is my stats. I've got 0 podiums. I've crashed 400 people out. I wanted to always keep stats. Stats is a big thing for me. I'm just a bit of a nerd in that respect. So I built a website. I'm not going to tell anyone what this website was because it's a bit of a meme now because it's the worst thing you'll ever likely to see in racing. It's just, it's horrendous. If anyone does want to go out there, I think it's actrollvision8.com/Wix maybe, or it's wix.com/ I can't remember what it was, but it's horrendous. And I'm actually sure that there might be someone who posts that link in the comments. I'm dead certain they will actually. So yeah, we had this website with spreadsheets on there and stuff, and it was just a nightmare to maintain. And it was one of those Wix jobbies where you have to resize the images all the time, and if you accidentally like moved one, it would then cover 3 of them. You wouldn't look at the website for a couple of days, and everyone would be like, "Oh, your website's all messed up, and it didn't work on mobile," and it was just a complete nightmare. So yeah, we were up to around about 100 people at that point as well. So it was kind of really becoming quite busy, and it was still predominant. It was just PS4, Project Cars 2. We tried to venture into other games. It just didn't really work at that point. Sorry, I'm actually going through the whole story here, Jack. I apologize.
No, keep
Um,
going. Keep going.
yeah, I had someone come to me a couple of years ago called Shane, and I put when you run an online racing community, you've had many people on who do the same as what I do. There's always people that email you. Oh, I want to make graphics for you. I would like to make a website for you. Website's kind of the main one, and it's when you've never had a website or you've built something yourself, and to trust someone else with something that you've built, your baby, is really difficult. So I've just said no to so many people about this website. But this guy was different. He sent me a CV and he said, "I want to build you a website." And like his CV was unbelievable. Like it was that good. I didn't understand half of it. So I was like, "Yeah, those words make no sense, but I'm going to pretend I understand." But yeah, you're hired. And he built me the website, so actrollvision.com. If no one's, this is not to plug it or anything. It's just to go and look at it because I'm so proud of what Shane has achieved. It is. I don't know if you've seen it, Jack, but it is unbelievable. Like I think it's probably the standout in the online racing, sim racing world, in terms of usability, the sophistication of it as well, in terms of the profiles and all that stuff. But he built that, and it's just taken it to a whole new level. Like we track everything now, so you could click. If you've done 20 races and you've got 10 podiums, you can go and click on your profile, and it tell you the percentage of podiums, 50%. It can tell you how many times you've DNF'd, how many times you did not start the race. It tracks absolutely everything. It tracks what leagues you've been in, what position you finished in each of those leagues. It tracks what current leagues you're in, what car you're using. You have your livery pop up. You can customize your own pictures, and it's quite ridiculous as to how far it's come. But that's opened up a whole new world, and we're now, we're running on Race Room, we're running on GT Sport, we're running. Formula One. I don't want to go too much into Formula One. That's a strange fishbowl to be involved in. I tell you that much. We do a lot of dirt stuff. Trying to think what else we do. We do everything. It's crazy. It's hard for me to remember half what I'm doing, let alone what the community's doing at this point. And so we then had someone called Bubble come in. Bubble Bart, his name's Bart Ramekers from the Netherlands, and he's like single-handedly the most talented person I've ever met. Apart from Shane, the web guy, those two together are just absolute geniuses. And he's come in and graphically, again, I'm not sure how much you've seen, Jack, in terms of my streams and whatnot, and the events that we do run, but graphically the streams are incredible now. Like we were able to put the profile of each driver on screen. We're able to put the liveries of the drivers across the bottom of the screen. Standings, we're able to do the points live as well. I'm not too sure if there's many leagues out there that within 30 seconds of the race finishing, they've got a live standings table up on screen for people to view. It's just come so far, and I've had this vision. So I'm the guy that comes up with these ideas, and a lot of people, for me, I'm like, oh, this idea, it's almost like it become a running joke now. I'm like, all right, okay, so how can I piss these guys off now? What idea can I come up with that they can't possibly be able to make happen? And they do. They just keep making it happen. And so as much as ACR's got my name in it, I cannot claim and I was the one who birthed it, if you like, the conception. Yeah, those two people have made it incredible. Like it's one of we've got the AORs, we've got the Inside Line Racing as well. We've got myself. There's a couple of others out there that are pushing boundaries, but like it's just great to see that there are sort of 3 or 4 or 5 maybe out there that are really offering something that can be likened to real world motorsport, like the organization, uh, the feel from the drivers. You have to feel something for it to be important. You have to feel something. It has to mean something. And there's sort of 4 or 5 organizations now that are really pushing that boat. So yeah. So how did I get into ACR? Well, it's Twitter, and now there's a whole story for you. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this. I'm like the biggest sim racing nerd in the world, and yeah, there's a lot more to that story. And one day I'm sure I will discuss everything. But yeah, it's quite a crazy little roller coaster.
So then, how did you start into the commentary side of things?
So It's tough. So I used to compete at quite a good level within Project Cars 2 and most racing games, to be fair. I've qualified for some LAN finals as well. I went to the Gamescom. Yeah, I went to Gamescom and raced. I've done Comic Con for the Red Bull 5G. I don't know if you remember that from a few years ago on Project Cars, the original. I got to the South final for that. And because of ACR, I didn't really have time to practice anymore. Like, I haven't, for when I've done a league race, in the last 2 years, I've never turned any laps to practice for, like, because I'm too busy organising that same league race. So it's like I don't have time to do that as much. So when like people see me on camera and stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, he's racing, and he's pretty good." But like I could be a lot better, but I just don't have time to put the time in anymore, which is really really unfortunate, to be fair. But sorry, I completely forgot the question. To be completely honest with you, I'm babbling on here and I'm ruining it for. I'm sorry, man. I'm just like
No, it's
excited to
okay.
tell the story.
You're fine. You're fine. I was asking how you got into commentary.
That's right. Yeah. So hold on. Yeah, I'll get there now eventually. Sorry, man. So yeah, I thought, well, instead of me racing, I haven't got time to practice anymore. Why don't I, have a little go at commentary? And so I did. And it just more people wanted to watch. I was like, oh, okay. So either they're just watching because they pity me, or this is some stupid. Ironically, it doesn't really matter why people watch you, as long as they're watching you. You could be the villain, you could be the hero. As long as people are watching you, it doesn't really matter. If people want to laugh at me, they want to laugh at me. But then again, it was more to do with my ego. Like I've always wanted to be an entertainer. I've always wanted to be, watched by people. I've always wanted to make people feel something. I always wanted to make people react to something, and it works. I was like, oh, I quite like this. So that's how it started, and then it's just snowballed. Like it's ridiculous what's happened from then. I'm not too sure what questions you've got in the rest of this little podcast, but I will explain like my commentary journey, I guess now. So from the start, just messing around, probably Z4s around Nürburgring GP. That was the first commentary, no doubt. I contacted the ESL. So ESL run. Do they still run Forza RC, or is that done completely separately now? I don't know. Maybe they never did. I'm pretty sure they run every racing organization event ever, like back in the day. But now I don't think they do any. But they run the Project Cars 2 Go 4 Cups. I don't know. I'm not sure if you know what that is.
I do. I competed in them once. I was terrible.
And so they had announced the SMSR Championship. It's quite ironically, which the final of this year's is on Saturday. And so I was like, right, I do commentary here. I already commentate these Go 4 Sundays. Like, I did it for the ESL for free. I'd never charged them a penny. I was like, I just wanted to get, dip my toe. I wanted to get experience, the top level of online motorsport. So I contacted them again and I said, look, I'm doing the ESL Go 4s. This is how people are qualifying for the SMSR Championship. How about you give me a chance to commentate the main stuff where you get paid? And I was like, they're like, yeah, okay, what wicked. So the guy that ran it at the time there, I'm sure everybody knows who he is, Rene Butler. I owe a huge amount of my success to him giving me that shot at the start. So he said, "Yeah, come and do this." And it was like I've never travelled away, I've never been abroad or anything like that at this point. So, like within 2 weeks of me commentating on the SMSR Championship in 2017, I was in Germany commentating the online final, and then the World Championship final, which was at Gamescom. So I did Germany twice in 3 weeks. I went to Gamescom because I'd already competed at Gamescom. So I had been abroad. Or was that afterwards? No, that must have been afterwards. I don't know. So was it 2017? I compete. Yeah, I guess I competed in 2018. I don't know. So it's a big blur for me now, Jack. Unfortunately, there's just too much going on. So yeah, I got to commentate at the world final on the ESL stage, and it was actually the year that PUBG had first come out, doing their big esports event, which was like the $100,000 or $350,000 or something like that. I can't remember what it was actually. And we were right next door to that, so it was like we just felt like the dons, like, oh, this is the big time, and we had loads of people watching. And so I've gone very very quickly from commentating at Nürburgring GP with the Z4s to doing the Go 4 Cups, which was the very best in the world, to commentating a live final for ESL, which is the biggest esports event organizers in Europe at the time, at Gamescom in front of a live audience. Like, it was just absolutely mad. And also, Project Cars 2 was coming out that the month after, and I got to sort of release the game, if you like, at Gamescom on like as a host on stage. I'd never done any of this. It was absolutely mental. I got to interview Andy Tudor, my first ever live interview, and I was like a rabbit in the headlights. It was scary times. Like, I was working with Rene, and Rene, this is his job. He does this all the time. And he went, "Oh, yeah, next thing for you is you got to do an interview with Andy Tudor on your own." And I'm like, "This is like live. Yeah, it's going to be on all the Facebook channels. It's like it wasn't one of those someone's putting an iPhone in your face kind of jobbies. There's a big old camera. I felt like I was in Coronation Street or something. Like, it's a proper production. Like, it was crazy, crazy time. So I had to do a live interview and kind of. So I was very lucky. I've listened to a lot of your interviews over the last couple of months, and it's kind of like people have scratched and they've just taken so much to get into the position they're in, and I have to tip my hat to them and really appreciate them, because I kind of just got really lucky. I got that one gig and it kind of spiraled from there. So yeah, that's how I got into commentary. Really, it was I fell into commentary, if you like, and it just worked.
So you have actually managed to do quite a lot of real life opportunities as a result of that one gig. So what out of those, which one has been your favorite one to do and why?
Oh wow. See, I can't pick a favorite. I went to Loyac with Thrustmaster last year when they announced their handbrake, and I got to drive two rallycross cars around Loyac. Like, who gets to do that? That's just mad. So yeah, there's that. I got to work with Renault last year at Silverstone. I commentated on the Renault Esports series. That was weird. 4 drivers on track, like 20-minute races. It was live. Like, I was walking around them with a microphone, like a host. That was crazy, but it's such a good experience. But I got to commentate on. This is the weirdest thing. So I'm a race commentator, online racing commentator, but I got to commentate Carlos Sainz and Nico Hulkenberg playing against 2 Team Vitality players on Rocket League. It was just, and the funniest part about that story is I'm quite a big dude. So the security team didn't turn up for the Renault guys. They were late. So they asked me to stand next to them while they signed autographs to act as security in my pink shirt. It was so funny, but it meant I got a really good picture with them, so it wasn't the worst thing. But yeah, I was just stood there like security with like a coral sunset super dry shirt on, ridiculous. So that was so fun. I got to go to Speed Machine last year, and because I was commentating on the Dirt 4 World Championships with on-set Andrew Coley. I got to work with Andrew Coley, who's like, anyone who's a commentator knows who Andrew Coley is. He's the World Rallycross commentator, and who a lot of us aspire to be like. They say don't meet your heroes. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, and I'm very, very happy to say he's one of my genuine friends. Like, it's to the extent of I was going to Paris last year for the Logitech semi-final, Logitech G Challenge, and I just texted to see how he was, and he just proceeded to start talking about his new dog he'd bought. Like, we're just genuine friends now. It's just really funny. I got to work with Neil Cole as well. Got to work with Lottie Van Prague as well, which was just like on set now. Mark Hatcher and Lottie Van Prague are just like the 2 of the biggest talents in esports. They do a lot of like Call of Duty, FIFA, Halo. I'm not too sure if you're aware of who these people are. But they're killing it right now. They are like the biggest out there in terms of esports. I got to work with Stadakist as well, who's like a massive talent within CSGO, PUBG last year at the Logitech G Challenge. So like, yeah, you guys listening right now, like that is. Can you pick a favorite from that if you got to do that? I'm like so fortunate to be in the position I am. But I guess working with Andrew Coley and Neil Cole, 2 real world talents in their own right, getting to work alongside them, and not only working alongside them but being treated as equal. Like, there was no ego, there was no animosity, there was just not. It was it was kind of the opposite. They come into our world and they were so respectful of it, and they were learning as they were going, and it was just really, really cool to see. And yeah, I'm very, very proud to say that like I'm genuine friends with Neil and genuine friends with Andrew, and so that's probably my highlight.
So, as you said, we got to work with Andrew Cullen, who, by the way, is one of my commentary idols. I love Andrew. But did you actually manage to learn anything from them? Working alongside a real life commentator, obviously, you must have picked up some things.
Yeah, kind of just fundamentals as a commentator, how to sit, how to breathe, just little things like that. Where you just don't really think. As you guys will hear on this podcast, I'm really excited to do things like this because I speak really fast. Like I'm a nerd for sim racing. I'm a nerd for listening to these podcasts. So to be on one is like, oh, so excited. And yeah, so learning how to speak slower, which clearly I haven't learned. The breathing as well, like I said there. Just general, because they're never really on camera in respect of hosting. I guess Andrew is and Neil is to a certain extent, but it's kind of what they do is very raw. But commentary presence, because you're off camera, it's all about how you sound. So just learning the basics like that. But timing, I guess, was a big deal as well. With it's weird because in sim racing, I'm normally the lead caster, but then when I work with Andrew, like he just loses his shit. I thought I was nuts. And he just loses his shit. And we had an overtake in the Dirt 4. I can't remember whether it wasn't Unip. I think it was Oscaro Quinto. And he has jumped out of his chair like a jack in a box. He's banging on the table, and he's just afterwards, like when all the mics are gone, he's like, "That is unbelievable! Like I can't believe how exciting it is compared to the real stuff." And as you know, he's one of your idols. You know that he goes absolutely batshit bananas every time he comes. So just I don't know. I've always been one of those people that I've always been myself. If you don't like me, all power to you. I'm not going to change. That is how it is. And he kind of reinforced that because in the way he conducts himself and stuff like that. He's the nicest guy in the world, genuinely. I'm very proud to call him one of my friends. But like he just doesn't. Once he's in commentary mode, it is just all about giving the people who are watching the best show possible. And he epitomizes that for me. And that's what I learned from him. Just be yourself, man.
So then, I know you've recently made sim racing your full-time job. So how are you currently managing with that, and what was the idea behind moving from part-time to full-time?
Um, oh god, it's a really tough one. This is it's gonna bring yeah. So I'm quite a positive guy. I think everyone kind of really yeah, he's a bit nuts. I was doing the same job for 14 years. And there's a few things people are going to find out now. You've put me in a bad spot here, Jack. Oh god.
It's what I do.
Yeah. So I've been doing it for about 14 years. I was a welder, fabricator, engineer. And I had a few bad things happen in my personal life. Which again, I'm not going to go into details of those. And the job was just bad times. I've been diagnosed with depression. So yeah, I don't like to throw that around because it is what it is. You just got to kind of get on with it, and the work wasn't helping. And in the end, ACR wasn't helping me at all. The commentary wasn't helping me at all because it was just all become too much. I'm so fortunate that the people who watch me on Twitch, which is my main income, they're incredible. Like I cannot stress to anyone from outside of my world, anyone who's just looking in. If you don't know who I am, or if you do know who I am, my Twitch community are the very, very best thing for me. Like they're so positive. They will do absolutely anything to help me out. But like the way they cheer, the way they donate, has put me in a position where last August I was like, yeah, I'm done with this job. I can't do this anymore. It was killing me inside. I've got two unbelievable children. I've got a beautiful fiance. She's the most kind, caring person in the world. I don't think I've ever even told her that she's that person because my head's been in such a bad spot over the last couple of years, and it was starting to affect our relationship. But thankfully, we're all good. We've got a third child on the way. Last child, sorry, I should say. Don't want to be doing any more of that. And that's because of my Twitch community as well. We can afford to do that. We can afford to have another child. But not only have they put me in a financial position where I can do these things, but because of the numbers of people that watch, because as much as people like to say, oh, it's all about how good you are as a commentator and it's all about how good you are as a host. It is to a certain extent, but you still get over. Like I've been overlooked because someone's got more Twitter followers than me. I couldn't tell you how many times. It's embarrassing. I've watched esports events because obviously, like we're talking about this, how has this become my job? And I need these jobs for I do not make enough on Twitch to pay for my rent, to pay for my children. So I need to be a commentator. I need to produce esports events for, to top up the money so I can afford to live and afford to still be fat, basically. And so there's a very, my Twitch followers, people who follow me on Twitter and stuff, by keep interacting, by keep being in the streams and stuff, have put me in a position where companies are like, well, yeah, we can look at this guy at the very least. And then just by being looked at, I would like to think that, my commentary style is very unique and exciting, if you like. So I kind of, that's how I've been able to make this my full-time job. I feel like I have got through talent, but my Twitch, it is all about my Twitch community. It really is. Like those and Twitter have really put me in a spot. Like I find it's very, very difficult to talk about because I'm just so proud of everybody. And I will never I very rarely take claim for any of this. I know I was the one who made this. It's my idea to do this. I guess it wasn't like it was forced upon me. But yeah, I was talking about Shane, who does the website. I was talking about Bubble, who does the graphics. We've got an incredible mods team that work behind the scenes that make sure that incidents are done and stuff like that. So I guess it's a big, big parcel, and it's all put me in a position where I'm a lot happier in my life. And ultimately, as you've asked the question, it's put me in a spot where this is my full-time job now.
So you would say that you enjoy being a part of the sim racing community in general?
Oh, I hate it. It's the worst thing ever. Like, I'm trying to get a job as a welder again at this point. No, oh man, I'm a nerd, Jack. I'm an absolute nerd for it. I love everything about sim racing. Um, I just, it's hard. It's so hard to explain because I just feel it. I just feel the whole sim racing world. I love watching like the Brendon Lees dominating his sport. I love watching these people grow up as well. Like Brendon, when he won his first F1 Esports, Brendan's one of my friends, so I'm sure he's not going to mind me being honest. And I've spoken to face to face about the finger wag, the attitude when he first won his the F1 Esports Championship to the young man he's become today. Like things like that are incredible. He's one of the most humble people you'll ever meet. You can see his image change as well. The hard work he's put into his fitness, into changing his lifestyle is incredible. I think Esports and Cars, who is the team he's been working with, and Mercedes are a huge part of that. But ultimately, he's changed himself. But those are the little stories I love, and that's why I love being involved. Like to answer your question, yes, I love being involved in the sim racing community, just for all of the little stories. But kind of what we do at ACR that's different to, like, we have the main esports. So if you want to be one of the top guys in the world, there's loads of competitions out there for you. But is there competitions out there for the average drivers, the 65-plus-year-old drivers who once were a real racer, or they wanted to be, and they've been given a steering wheel by their young 21-year-old grandson? They've known that you love motorsport. Is there an opportunity for you to drive in front of that esports audience and become a mini celebrity within the community you're in? That's what I love about sim racing. That's what I love about what we produce, is because it doesn't matter whether you're 5 seconds or 10 seconds slower than the quickest guy in the community. You have your own league. You have the same amount of people watching you, and it means exactly the same when someone has gone 30 races and they haven't won a race, and then they suddenly become a race winner. And when the chat goes absolutely bananas, shouting their name, like that's why I love sim racing, because anybody can become, to a certain point within their own community, can become a superstar. If like you, Jack, if you had, and me, we're such in the grand scale of the world, we're such small people on social media, we're such small people, and even in the sim racing community, we're such small people. But you got 10 people on Twitter that respond to one of your tweets about, oh, you did really well on that podcast. You were really good at interviewing. It fills your ego, it makes you happy, right?
Of course.
So that's why I love sim racing, because anybody can become that. Well, in my eyes, anyway, this is how I like to run things. I like to run things with beginners, intermediates, and pros. I like to have all three ability levels on camera on the same stream. And give everybody that opportunity to become a superstar. I want the pros to be watching the stream before they race and see the beginners doing well, and I want the beginners then to watch the pros, and I want them to appreciate each other, because without slower people, you don't have faster people, you don't have world champions, because if these people didn't turn up to competitions, it wouldn't be a thing. Like, if you just had the same 5 people that are the quickest in the world and there was no one to beat, there wouldn't be a competition. There's no one wants to watch it, no one wants to sponsor it, and it becomes a very mundane sport. So yeah, that's the reason I love being involved in sim racing, because anybody can become a superstar to a certain extent.
And finally, Luke, where do you see yourself being in a couple of years' time? What's the ultimate goal?
Ooh. So without going into details, we've just we've just been given a contract to produce a major esports competition, which should be announced on, what's the date today? It should be announced on the 22nd of this month, actually. Which is, I mean, when I say big, it's huge, it's massive, like huge. One of the biggest competitions that's been running for the last couple of years by one of the biggest companies that are involved in esports. We're producing an event for a continent in the world, so it's kind of nuts. So that's kind of where we want to move towards, production of esports events. But on the flip side, I want to continue to give everybody the opportunity to race in front of an esports events, esports size crowd. So I live by two rules in this sim racing business. Anybody of any level can race in front of an esports audience, as long as they can make the esports audience feel their performance. They get excited. They win with the driver, they lose with the driver. And then the second one is win clean or lose trying.
Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for. Luke, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I wish you every success for the future.
No problem. Really, really enjoyed being on here. Guys who've listened to the whole thing, I'm so sorry. I do like to ramble on. I get really, really excited about sim racing. But yeah, thank you very much, Jack, for the opportunity to come onto the show.
No problem at all. So that has been episode 16 of One Mic, One Wheel. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify to keep up to date when these episodes go live. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time out for episode 17. Thank you, and goodbye.